So hello folks, this is Mike Cayley 7. I'm riding on New Year's Eve 2016. The last day of 2016. It's about 48 degrees today, so I figured I'd put on my leather overpants. So what's going on with me? I don't know. Nothing really momentous. I don't have any New Year's resolutions. I resolve to be the same lazy asshole that I have always been. I won't go changing on you. How about that? Well, I promise to be me. Alright, I got a topic I just thought of. As I was going around that slight little curve there, back there, you probably didn't even notice. I leaned the bike a bit and I thought, woohoo! And it made me think of a topic that NightRider brought up yesterday, I think it was. His topic was why you should get a sport bike before you get a cruiser. And he owns both. He rides both. Obviously, he prefers sport bike. And he says that everybody who starts riding a motorcycle should start out on a sport bike. He says if you don't start out on a sport bike, if you never ride one, then one thing is you'll always wonder. You always ask yourself, geez, what would it have been like to ride a sport bike? And the other thing is, you'll never really be a good motorcycle rider because you'll never have put your skills to the test. You would never have developed real skills. Because when you're on a cruiser, you just sit there and you just go. But on a sport bike, because you're going fast and you're ripping through the corners, you're gonna lean, all that jazz. And so, before you ride a cruiser, you should ride a sport bike, so says NightRider. And I can understand where that thinking comes from, because when you're on a cruiser, you're not doing knee-down kinds of cornering, and you're not, ostensibly, you're not riding super fast. You don't go in up to 80 in first gear. But when you're on a sport bike, you can do those kinds of things, and perhaps he thinks you should. Which means your skills aren't really there if you're on a cruiser your whole time. So I understand the idea. But first of all, I have to disagree with one thing. When you're on a sport bike on public roads with other cars and road hazards and people and all kinds of things, you shouldn't be ripping through the corners at 100 miles an hour. You shouldn't be riding 100 miles an hour on the public streets, because you endanger yourself and you endanger other people. I'm not concerned with the reputation that sport bike riders have. I don't think about that. I'm just thinking about the safety issue. I think it's important to consider other people. So if you want to do that 100 mile an hour carving the curves with your knee down, you shouldn't be doing it on public roads. You should be doing it on a track. That's what a responsible motorcycle rider would do, in my opinion. Don't endanger yourself and others. Another thing that I have to kind of disagree with, I mean, I don't disagree necessarily, I have another point to add to NightRider, and that is, what if a person doesn't want to drag his knee through a corner? What if a person doesn't want to go from 0 to 80 in first gear and carve the twisties? What if a person simply wants to cruise? And the kinds of twisties that he goes through on his cruiser, and he develops to the limit of that machine, what's the problem with that? I think it all comes down to personal preference. If you prefer to carve a corner, then go ahead, carve a corner. But don't do it in a way that's going to endanger anybody. If you prefer to cruise and tour like I do, sure, I may not have racing skills, but that's not why I'm out here. I'm out here simply to enjoy the scenery in a relatively safe manner. That's pretty much it. What do you think of that? Do you think that you're not really a true motorcycle rider and you don't have true skills unless you've ridden a sport bike and mastered it? I don't really think so. I don't think it matters. True skills. I think one person's definition of a motorcycle rider is different from another's. The other thing is, when you start riding at an older age, like I did, at least for me, comfort is a major concern. And if I'm going to be riding a lot, I want to be in a very comfortable position. From what I could see, the position of sport bike is not comfortable for long-term riding. If you want to go to the other side of the state or something, hunched over that tank, it doesn't sound fun to me. Knees all cramped up. Nope, 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 nope. I've got a bunch of achy joints. I've got a broken leg. That still hurts. I'm taking pain medicine every day. I'm on gabapentin and Lyrica just to, keep myself functioning. So pain is an issue. The older you get too, and the colder weather it's even worse. So I have a cushy seat, and I have wind deflection, and I've got heated grips. I have a taller windshield. These are all things that add to my comfort. I have highway pegs where I can stretch out a bit, let my knees have a break. Can't do that on a sport bike, and I really don't want to carve the twisties. That's just me though. Do I think somebody who rides a sport bike really, really well has superior skills? Well, on a sport bike he does, but on a regular bike like this, if I've learned how to ride this bike to its safe limits, and it doesn't matter if I have super sport bike skills, because I've mastered this bike on these roads. So I don't think a sport bike rider would necessarily be any better than me on this bike, on these roads. That's just my opinion. What do you think? This is my Kaylee 7. 48 degrees on New Year's Eve. I hope your celebration is fun and safe. Or was fun and safe, because you'll probably see this after. Talk to you later.